Good evening, everybody. Real brief, I'm gonna let them come up here. They need all the time they can get. We have, as we East Siders up in here, you know, descended from the late Ramon Washington. You guys know where he's buried at, right? That cemetery is pretty much, it looks shut down, closed down. Look, it's in need of help, resources, funding. The owner of it got real sick, and I believe it's his daughter here today. She's gonna come up here and speak to you guys about what's needed, and we want to come together as the East Side and really come together for the homie and make sure that his resting place is sacred and it don't get shut down. There's a lot of people in there. There's people still waiting to get buried in that cemetery. We done did a lot of stuff with Mike Gibson and over there in the city of Carson area, trying to find out how we can keep this thing moving. So I asked them to come to this table, and what better people to push this table than the East Siders to really help see what we can do. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask Ray Ray and her guests to come up here and speak briefly.
Good evening, you guys. Most of you guys know I'm Ramon Washington's daughter. My name is Ramon Washington. And I just want to bring it to you guys' attention about the cemetery. You know, we've been having a lot of issues with it being closed and, you know, us not being able to visit our loved ones. And this past Sunday was Father's Day. And I go up there every Father's Day. And it took me almost 30 minutes to find my father's grave due to the maintenance. And it's heartbreaking because if it took me that long to find my father's grave, I can imagine what the other people is going through because the maintenance. The issue at hand is the owner is sick and he needs help. We don't have no gatekeeper, groundskeeper to keep it up. It don't have water, no lights. You know, people are going around burglarizing the headstones, stealing the copper, or just being plain ignorant. So I'm coming to you guys tonight to ask you guys to help us get it back up and running, help us with donations. The grass needs to be cut. The water needs to be cut back on, and I need us to come together as a community, Bloods, Crips, Black, Brown, whatever, us to come together as a community and help myself and Miss Aisha to get it back up and running. So I'm going to turn it over to Aisha so she can give y'all furthermore of the real details of how to go about it.
Hello everyone. As stated, we need a lot of help. So I want to briefly give you guys information on how I came involved with the cemetery. My mother was buried there 2017, and also she has family at Woodlawn, which is across the street. So I'm involved with both cemeteries, meaning like from volunteer work and things of that nature. Last year in 2023, July 21st, I saw on Channel 7 News that there was a lady that wasn't able to be buried at Lincoln. And so I was surprised because me and my father had just seen, the gates were open, earlier that week before the 4th of July. So I came the next day. So when I came the next day, there were a group of people there in front of the cemetery, and I met a woman by the name of Valerie Holyfield. She has 2 children buried there. And so I just walked up to her and I asked her, I said, hey, do you know anything about this? And she said, I went to Carson and they said they knew nothing about this closure. They didn't want to hear anything about the closure, but they are having a meeting August 2nd. So as we're talking, there was a woman by the name of Felicia Jones. And she had just buried her son there 4 months previous on top of her brother. And so all of us was in shock that it was closed because we always knew that it was open. The owner, his name is John Michael Mitz, And, what happened was that he had 3 strokes in total. So before his second stroke, he had asked the state, he called the state and said, hey, can you, help me with my cemetery? Can you put a temporary manager there? And so the state was like, we don't take over cemeteries like that, but you could go and ask other cemetery, managers if they'll take over the cemetery. And so as he was doing that process, he had his 3rd stroke. So I'm going to try to speed all of the information pretty fast because it's a lengthy story. So he surrendered his license. So what that means is that he still owns the property, but he can't do day-to-day operations. Like, even if he wanted to. If he said, hey, I feel better, or I got somebody, unless he got his license back and the procedures of how he did it, that's the only way he could come back on his property and manage it. So that's what kind of a briefing of what surrendering his license means. So recently, since July, me and the 3 ladies, we were able to rally up the people because they had an August 2nd meeting, and that was a Monday when we met. By Thursday, Mike Gibson came with Channel 5 News, and he spoke to all of us. So at the end of that that press conference, he called us up because we were still there, and he said, hey, I want to give you a lock and a key to the cemetery, chain and lock to the cemetery, because we see that you are willing to keep it open. So we consider ourselves the community volunteers of Lincoln. That's our title. And so we keep it open from 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 5. We have been having community cleanups, but they have been small and large and once a month. Recently, the grass have gotten very high because of the rains. So when it rained, we couldn't come back to mow because it was so, wet. So we weren't able to do that. So there has been many times where we had to wait till the grass dried up in order to cut it. But we need supplies. There's no supplies of our own. Anything that I have to borrow. So I have a GoFundMe account that's campaign that is going on. I would love to spread that knowledge. We're having another community cleanup on the 29th. The community asked to have it twice a month instead of once a month. So our last one was June 15th, and it just passed. If you do have any loved ones there, you can get buried there. The thing is that the mortuary has to call the cemetery funeral bureau, and then they have to approve it. But I have been there helping people find their loved ones the best way I can. The office is not open, but I've been going through old newspapers and finding other history of this beautiful landmark. Another thing is that I have a lot of history, but I'm going to give you a brief history. Okay, so the cemetery was built in 1934. Okay. Was built in 1934. It's an African American cemetery and also non-restrictive. I never knew. I'm a Compton resident in LA, so I claim both cities. But but with the cemetery, it was made for us African Americans and being non-restrictive because we weren't able to be buried anywhere, or there were also cemeteries that were filled up, and also we were rejected from a many. So it was 12 years in the making with this cemetery. The other thing about the cemetery, yes, we have been vandalized because of the copper. So we had 100 name plaques taken off of the mausoleum. There was a plaque by Joe Louis dedicated in 1949 personally from him that was stolen. We're never getting that back. They try to take the bust of Lincoln. When you enter the cemetery, you will see the bust of Lincoln. I have history on everything that's on that land and taking estimates on how much this will be. But my main focus right now is getting it cut down. And it's sad because there's people who come to me and they're crying because they're saying, I can't see my loved one, but I'm doing my best to cut it down. I try to do something before Mother's Day, but I just don't have the equipment. So if you would like to help or have many questions, answers, I have some solutions that I'm working on. You can call me at 213-352-0766. I will leave the information with Heidi. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. But there's, you have a question?
Oh, what's your Cash App?
Oh, yes, it's called Revitalizing Lincoln Cemetery, Carson, California. We also have a Facebook page, which is called, Families of Lincoln and, Families of Lincoln Memorial Park Cemetery, Carson, California. I'll also post there. I'm going to, develop a web page just for Lincoln. In the future, I'm looking for the long term, so there's things that I have going on that I'm trying to keep up with cemeteries, especially since I've been, dealing with this one. So there's gonna be a lot more cemeteries that's gonna need a lot more help. A lot of them private and corporate. But, yes, if you have any more questions or any more knowledge that I'd like to spread to you about this African American, non-restrictive, cemetery, please give me a call. That's my direct line, so hopefully, I can get some help, manpower as well. But thank you for listening to my story.